Like, I really don't understand queers, especially gays, who don't support Palestine. And it's funny enough, it's probably the same gays who, like, would vote for Trump.
The indoctrination is running very strong, my friends. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. Now, there is some strong indoctrination going on right now, and you say, well, wake up, JP, it's been going on. Yeah, but they're indoctrinating about a new thing now, and it's happening more than ever. And that's, of course, getting like the young generation really on board with just supporting pro-Palestine. What Hamas, I don't know, but like pro-Palestine. The indoctrination is strong. And then a specific aspect of that indoctrination that is very strong, of course, would be getting the LGBTQ community super on board with being super pro-Palestine, very pro a country that gives them no civil rights, and has a tradition of, unfortunately, throwing LGBTQ people off of rooftops. Why is this indoctrination happening, and how is it happening? I'll answer that in a second, but first, as evidence of how freaking strong this indoctrination is, take a look at this. This is a scene at a high school. The students are going nuts, and a teacher had to hide in her office for a number of hours. Why? Because the students, I would dare say all of them that were rowdy were very indoctrinated. They were going nuts because this teacher, she attended a pro-Israel rally. But the youth had been so indoctrinated to be so pro-Palestine, the teacher literally had to hide in her office for safety. Now you might be saying, well, JP, maybe that's just what they believe. How do you know this is indoctrination? Yeah, because they weren't passionately supporting Palestine a month and a half ago. This is extremely new. That's why we know it's indoctrination. Like, I stand with Ukraine, I definitely do. Yeah, we know that's indoctrination because you didn't even give a crap about Ukraine the day before. Or like, I stand with this current thing. Like, no, you don't. You're indoctrinated to think that way. Now, the piece of this puzzle that I think is the most apparent is, where is this indoctrination happening? And I think a lot of it is TikTok. TikTok is a communist China-run company that I believe serves as an online indoctrination camp for America. The Chinese version of the app that goes to young people in China, they don't allow a lot of the stuff that TikTok's algorithm actively shoves in the American youth's faces. How do they get the LGBTQ community so on board with supporting a country that gives them no rights, no civil rights, and has a tradition of throwing them off rooftops? We've all seen the meme many times at this point, and hopefully we keep seeing it because it speaks a lot of truth to the situation. The meme, queers for Palestine, is like chickens for KFC. So to hear more about this, I'm going to show you a few videos just to exemplify how strong the indoctrination runs from TikTok into the minds of people, young people, specifically the LGBTQ community, who then regurgitate all this propaganda as though it's their own. But we know it's indoctrination because they weren't speaking about this a month and a half ago. It's like, hey, all of a sudden, hey, the brain program's working. Here's what I stand for right now.
Like, girl, what are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? You cannot exist philosophically, spiritually, as a queer person, as an intersectional feminist, believing in the rights of all queer people and people around the world, and yet support a fascist state that is doing apartheid and literally ethnic cleansing. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Now, I find the whole Israel-Palestine situation, obviously, it's a vast, complex history, very messy. Both sides have done some pretty screwed up things. So the idea of like, hey, it's very clear. If you're this, you could never support that. You have to support that. That's the hallmark of indoctrination. Black and white thinking. We don't see nuances. Our visual spectrum doesn't pick those up.
The same way how it doesn't make sense for you to be queer and a Republican. Like, just no.
Part of the indoctrination. If you're queer, you certainly can't be a Republican whatsoever. You are these things. You black and white. You fit into this box. By the way, while watching this, I got really confused. Like, yeah, the Queers for Palestine. He's apparently a queer person. Queers for Palestine is what his video's labeled. I don't even know what a queer is. I've had people explain it to me, and after that, I know even less about what it actually is. So I decided to look it up. So you can see here the American Heritage Dictionary of what the definition of queer is: deviating from what is expected or normal, strange. Well, that guy seems strange. Odd or unconventional, as in behavior, eccentric, of a questionable nature or character, suspicious. Yeah, that definitely adds up. Gay or lesbian, definition number 5. By the way, now we have 6 definitions of the word queer. Number 4, gay or lesbian. Number 5, of or relating to lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, or transgender people. 6, feeling slightly ill, as in being dizzy or queasy. So if you spin around in a circle and get dizzy, I guess you're queer. And then noun. So this is the definition I knew, I guess, when I was a kid. Used as a disparaging term for a gay man or a lesbian. I would dare say with those 7 definitions of queer, now it's clear as mud what a queer is. But queer stand for Palestine. Again, all good indoctrination happens on TikTok. So going back to TikTok, here's another example of someone who's been indoctrinated and therefore is passing that indoctrination virus on to anyone who watches his, her, they's video.
I just started reading the Quran and I am so excited about it.
I'm excited about the Quran. So again, this is the other videos, she's I'm pro-Palestine, so Quran, Muslim, cool. And this being another example of someone clearly in the LGBTQ community being so pro-Palestine. Again, chickens so pro-KFC, which by the way, they have the right. Chickens can be pro-KFC. The question is I don't think you can get chickens to do that. So how do they get humans to do that, who apparently have bigger brains? Indoctrination's a hell of a drug.
People thought when I first asked that I just wanted to read it out of curiosity, but I want to read it to study it. I started following somebody on social media that teaches the Quran and hosts a Quran book club for Muslims and non-Muslims, so I'm really excited to start going to that. She was describing the chapter of the bee, and that just blew my mind. Like, the way that she describes things and the way that the Quran describes things actually makes sense to me.
That makes sense to me. Great. Now, I don't care what a person thinks. I don't care what this person thinks. What I care about is that the person does their own thinking. Indoctrination is the exact opposite of that. Now, that same person in a follow-up video is addressing the very question, like, hey, I keep getting comments about how can I support something, a place where if I was there, they would kill me. See what he, she, they has to say about that.
I keep getting comments that if I was in Gaza, I would be killed for being queer. And first off, there are queer people in Gaza, and they're being killed for being Palestinian. Second,
I don't know if that's right. Might be right. They probably do a lot of killing for a lot of reasons.
I don't need to move across the ocean to experience violence for being queer. I literally had to evacuate my place 6 months ago because people were so violent and sending me death threats, literally hunting me down for being trans. This is in the United States of America. The United States of America for trans people is in stage 7 and 8. Palestine is in 9 and 10. There is a reason why the United States was the only country who vetoed a United Nations Security Council resolution. There is a reason why our government is so adamant about saying level the place.
Okay, so if I'm trying to decipher her rationalization why she's a queer for Palestine, even though she would potentially be killed in Palestine, is because she's saying, well, I could be potentially killed for the same thing in America, so therefore I am for Palestine. I would very much wager that an LGBTQ member has a much greater chance of safety in the USA than they do in Palestine. Nonetheless, I didn't decipher too much logic out of that last video, but not surprising. Again, when you're indoctrinated, you're black and white, thinking. It's more like black and white verbal regurgitation. It's not really thinking, and it's certainly not nuanced thinking. Let's move on.
I've been thinking a lot about what I can make as a community support design in order to support Palestine, and this is what I came up with. These represent the Palestine sunbird.
Great. Very kind to want to support Palestine or whatever you want to support. But that's like standing with Ukraine. It's not going to help. You made a bird. Maybe you sell those bird jewelries. It's not going to help. It will actually do nothing. And if we go deeper into the cave of the indoctrination camp known as TikTok, we get more examples of the indoctrination that's leading to Queers for Palestine.
I am truly begging some of y'all to use your critical thinking skills and to think about things for more than 2 seconds.
That's very interesting. Indoctrination of, I want you to use your critical thinking skills. That's just like I've seen news anchors recently saying like, yeah, if Trump gets reelected, he's going to politically persecute his opponents. Yeah, he's going to do that. Well, that's what they're doing to him.
I've been seeing a lot of people criticizing queer people for being vocally supportive of Palestine and seemingly forgetting that America is also not the greatest place to be if you're a queer person.
Well, that fact check real quick. America isn't the greatest place to be a queer person. Where is better? Valid question. Like, where is better? I don't think there's a better place that's more accepting of no matter who you are, what you think you are. Like, you can be who you want to be. You can pretend to be who you want to be. Don't infringe on my rights. Don't compel my speech to validate your hallucinations. We're not going to do that. At least this guy's not going to do that. But I would dare say the U.S. is the absolute best place. And Palestine, I don't know. It objectively is probably near the bottom of the list.
Like, did y'all forget that queer people have only been able to get married in the United States since 2015? Did we forget about the Pulse nightclub shooting in...
Technically, you could have a man who's queer and a woman who's queer, and they get married, and that could have been done even 300 years ago. So I just read the 7 definitions of a queer, and technically that could happen. So
2016, did we forget about all the anti-trans and anti-gay laws that have been coming out over the past few years?
Like everything like Ron DeSantis does, like, dude, that's anti-gay. Like he said you can't kill puppies in public, and some gay people own puppies, therefore he's not allowing gay people in public. So DeSantis.
I feel like if you take 2 seconds to critically think about this and not just
By the way, if you're taking 2 seconds to critically think about a huge geopolitical issue, you're not critically thinking about it. Like, that can't be done in 2 seconds. You can remember the propaganda that you've received through the indoctrination. You can remember that in 2 seconds, but you can't do critical thinking in 2 seconds.
repeat the talking points that you're getting from Fox News or wherever these vile takes are coming from, it would really click for you.
Yeah, there you go. It would really click for you. If you took 2 seconds, no more, not going to be necessary, but if you took 2 seconds to do some critical thinking, that's what I want you to do. And ladies and gentlemen, if you let your kids on TikTok, first off, shame on you. Maybe don't do that, but if you do, here's more stuff that they're exposed to. In other words, here's more of the curriculum in the indoctrination camp that our kids are exposed to when they're on TikTok.
So I'm queer and I stand with Palestine. Let's talk about it. You might have seen pictures like this, portraying Israel as a gay paradise. This is a classic case of pinkwashing.
Pinkwashing is a new term.
What is pinkwashing? This is when someone uses pride as a tool to hide bad agendas.
Oh, wow. Pinkwashing is when someone uses pride as a tool to hide bad agendas. Wow. You don't think the Biden administration is doing that, do you? Like they hire, like, hey, look at this bald felon. He's the nuclear energy secretary. Like, look how diverse we are. Look at Rachel Levine. Look how diverse we are while we usher in our good agendas. But look how diverse. Hey, this is all about equity and inclusion. Yeah, I would dare say pride is mostly being used to usher in bad agendas by bad people.
You know, like when companies sell rainbow stuff to seem progressive and then the money goes to like child labor or a politician that is anti-trans.
All right, I am not buying my Tucket bathing suit from Target again next year. Gotta see if my grandma can sew me one. And back to the rebuttals. Queers for Palestine defending why they're queers from Palestine when people are like, well, that's pretty accurately like chickens for KFC.
Go see how they treat gay people in Palestine. Go see how they treat women in Palestine. Who's gonna tell white people that a queer Palestinian's top priority isn't gay rights? Sorry. When you have no electricity and no water and you're being bombed, That's not your top priority. I know that's gonna trigger some people. In Palestine, they don't let kids use pronouns. Oh, you mean the kids that are worried if they're literally gonna wake up tomorrow? Those kids. What? Wait, you brought it up.
I love TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, I don't have TikTok on my phone or anything. I am not signed in. I don't want them having my information. And again, the really demonic poetry of getting people to support a thing that hates them. That's kind of the goal of indoctrination. Let's take another look.
To all the people who keep hopping on queer creators' pages who are pro-Palestine and telling them, well, they'd kill you, Palestine would kill you, shame on you. Is that supposed to make us change our minds?
I'd like you just use your mind. It's not necessarily meant to change your mind. It's meant to help you use your mind.
I don't know if this is crazy for you to understand as a concept, but just because a nation or a group of people is not fully accepting of LGBTQ plus people, that does not mean that I would support their genocide. There are plenty of LGBTQ plus people in Palestine, and I truly believe that if Palestine was able to govern themselves and they were free from Israeli control and colonization, they'd be able to start a movement and gain momentum and be able to work towards a future that is more LGBTQ plus accepting.
That is fact check, most likely incorrect. I think that's wishful thinking. But I did like his disclaimer. I think they would. Cool. Like he thinks they would. I think he's probably wrong. But nonetheless, like that's a relatively frail rationalization while he's trying to explain why Queers for Palestine is, strong and big enough.
To all my queers who are confused about the fact that I started reading the Quran.
So this is a lady / guy / not totally sure who said, hey, started reading the Quran, thinking about converting to Islam, religion that kind of hates me. So hear more about that.
First off, I really want to acknowledge that a lot of us hold religious trauma because religion has been used as a way to strip us from our human rights for a really long time. We've seen it a lot this year in particular. Secondly, though, I really want to remind y'all that religion and queerness are not mutually exclusive.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Soup and bread is also not mutually exclusive. No, I'm just being an idiot.
And that maybe we've been fed Islamophobic rhetoric our entire lives, and that maybe our ideas about...
If you look at his or her, they's left arm has the word queer tattooed right there. Can't see it there, but keep your eye open.
About Islam and the Quran are not necessarily true or accurate. A lot of these people who are writing messages or writing these comments are not actually knowledgeable about the book, but they have been told about the Quran and been told all of these things about it that aren't necessarily true.
Which is interesting. Now, this person identifies as a religious scholar saying like, oh yeah, everybody's saying the Quran is like unaccepting of gay people and therefore Palestine would be as well. I don't think they have a right. I've been reading the Quran for almost 20 minutes now, and here's what I think.
I really urge you to consider the fact that maybe the Quran is a really beautiful book, that maybe Islam is a really beautiful religion, that maybe queer people can have religious faith and both of them can be valid.
And I don't think that's necessarily untrue either. I think all people need some level of religious faith. And of course, religions can become indoctrination camps. Literally all of them can be. But finding a good pathway with a healthy medium to God, I think everybody needs that. The point here is, though, the indoctrination. Ladies and gentlemen, what I find fascinating and most scary about this is how fast this indoctrination happened. It just makes us just really reaffirm we need a strong mental immune system because, of course, on October 6th and before, all of these passionate TikTokers, like, oh, pro-Palestine, and like, screw you if you're not, and like, screw you for thinking I'm a chicken for KFC, for being this way. For October 6th, none of them had any level of passion, but then you just flip the switch, hit play on the program of the indoctrination camp, and out it comes through the spout of TikTok and of course some other places, but TikTok is just a nasty swamp of indoctrination. And I think this is just a primary lesson. We need to protect our children. And let's be clear, we also need to protect ourselves, protect our minds and our souls from indoctrination, because if you're a human, you're susceptible to it. But the question is, are you protecting yourself from it? It's kind of like you can have a strong immune system, but you probably don't want to go in Fauci's biolab because you're going to have an increased chance of being infected with something, even if you have a super strong immune system. If I can find a blessing of this ridiculous indoctrination, it would be the blessing of that reminder. Hope you take that. I'm going to take that. And again, I just want to say, whether someone's queer for Palestine or hetero for Israel or whatever they're doing, I don't care what a person thinks and what they support. What I care most about is they are choosing what they want to support. They are thinking their own beliefs, rather than the black and white indoctrination thinking that controls people's minds if you let it in, if you allow it. And therefore, once their minds are controlled, it controls their behavior. And we see expressions of their behavior through TikTok, which then claws into the minds of other people. With that said, stay free, my friend. Keep your mind clean and clear with a strong mental immune system. Thank you for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video. But before that, I have a special message for you. I'm someone who likes to take charge of my health, and there's only so much time in the day. So one of the #1 ways I've found that gives me the most bang for my buck elevating my health is with infrared saunas. And the way I do it, with the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. Being someone who loves to have good health and good energy, I was always stressing out about, like, how do I do detoxification? How do I elevate my metabolism? How do I de-stress? How do I make sure I get better sleep? But once I started using the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket, I found it easy because I was accomplishing all those objectives at once. And I feel better because of it. I find I have more energy, I melt my stress away, and I find I sleep much better. And here's the best part. Normal infrared sauna systems are super expensive and take up massive space in your home. I don't like to spend a ton of money and have a bunch of blocky crap cluttering up my home. But the infrared sauna blanket solved that problem for me too. It's the most cost-effective infrared sauna system on the market, and I love the fact that it's compact. When I want to use it, I just roll it out. Then when I'm done, I wipe it down and put it away. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. This holiday season, Bond Charge is offering a massive 25% off everything site-wide. Just head over to bondcharge.com/jpreacts and the 25% code will automatically be applied at checkout to your entire order. The time has never been better or less expensive to take your health and wellness to the next level, thanks to Bond Charge.